Welcome back to the NutriSave podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for joining us. All that junk, I don't know what to say there. Great weekend in sports last weekend. Masters wrapped up. I called Scotty winning it. Dominant. One word to describe that. Tiger made the cut. Broke history with that. I think he's got the most consecutive cuts now. Baseball, full swing now. There's more issues with the Fanatics uniforms, as we talked about before the season started. And so, yeah, last big thing that happened last night was the Capitals sealing. Oh, I guess 2 nights ago, and you're seeing this come out Thursday. But the Washington Capitals sealed the second wild card spot in the East, eliminating Detroit, Philly, and Pittsburgh all at once after Philly pulls their goalie with more than 3 minutes left after Detroit had already gone into overtime with Montreal statistically eliminating Philadelphia. So, Joey, I know you've got some very spicy thoughts on that. I think you have some words of encouragement for the Philadelphia Flyers heading into the offseason. If you want to go ahead and share those.
First, did you see Bryce Harper was wearing a jersey from last year in one of the
Yeah,
games? That
I
was
did.
that's so funny. But
We're
I'm
going to go
not gonna say
off topic
oh,
here. I think two guys have ripped their pants already, and it's been like that. They'll be sliding, and it goes like down the seam. So we knew there were going to be quality issues with Fanatics, but I don't think anyone thought it was going to be this bad. Of course, Harper has been fed up and brought out his old jersey. I think it's a matter of time before other players kind of jump on that train as well. So we'll see how that one goes. But back to that Philly conversation.
first off, why are we pulling the goalie with 3 minutes left? I know you needed regulation when I don't even care about Detroit right now because Detroit's got their own problems. Why are we pulling the goalie with 3 minutes left? I understand if it's a normal regular season game, but you ain't down. At that point, if you're already down 2-1 or 1-0, go ahead and pull them with 4 minutes left. I'm all for that. You need a regulation win. That's fine. But you're tied and you pull your goalie with 3 minutes left. I don't know what we were talking last night, and I think you agree with me. 3 minutes is too early. And you've seen like them going back to pulling the goalies later. It used to be a really big thing during the regular season. Pull your goalie with like 4 or 5 minutes left. You've even this year you've seen John Hines pull the goalie in overtime. But why are we pulling the goalie with 3 minutes left? There's no reason for it. And like I said, it as a Detroit fan, it sucks to see them not needing to pull the goalie because they're already eliminated. It sucks. It is what it is. Things happen. It didn't get to the bench quick enough. But why are we pulling the goal? Pull him with 2 minutes left. That gives you a 2-minute power play. And if the Flyers defenseman didn't fall down, it wouldn't have been. Oshie probably wouldn't have scored,
I will
which
agree with you on that.
made it hurt even worse. Because you had another guy coming down. There were going to be two people down there uh, if the first defenseman didn't fall. But whatever. It is what it is. Congrats to the Caps. I don't know how you make the playoffs winning only 40 games. I don't know how you pulled that off. But you did it. And I'm not going to be one of the people that complain about the point system. The tiebreakers I'm a little iffy about. But I don't know.
So
It's a typical John Tortorella move, though.
I will agree with that. I will say I was surprised he went. I think the goal was around like the 3:10 mark remaining. So it'd be like what? I don't know what the
It
official
was
times
right
were.
after. It was right after they
But
pulled the goalie too.
I mean, they pulled him with like 3:45 left, and I'm sitting here thinking, first off, when I went to the Caps Tampa game in DC this past weekend. Awesome game, great atmosphere in Washington. But Washington wasn't able to score on an empty netter for darn near 2.5 minutes. And so
When
Philly
they were
pulls
playing
their,
Tampa?
yeah.
Okay.
And so Philly pulls their goalie with just over 3.5 minutes. And I'm sitting here like, oh no. Philly really bombarding Washington with shots. I think Washington controlled the pace of that game physically, and that's something they've been doing over the past couple of weeks. But when you look at the way Philly was going, I think that slip, that fall right there, ended Philly's season. It like you take that fall out. I don't think Oshie scores that goal. I don't think I think it just turns into a dump in and then a breakout for Philly at that point. But I mean, for that to be how Washington gets in, and then for Pittsburgh to get eliminated, Pittsburgh's had a very good run this past month. Um, Detroit has warmed up a little bit. I think they've been shaky at times. Um, they need incredible comebacks the past couple of days. I don't know why you guys needed them against the Habs, but I mean, insane ending. I think what who was it? Was it
3 seconds left.
Yeah, was it Gossesbear that scored with 3 seconds left?
No,
Who
I
was it?
think it was Perron. I think
Okay,
the faceoff went from Larkin to Gosper to Perron. Slap shot right in. And we were on a call last night. I lost my mind. I absolutely lost my mind. And then probably 30, 45 seconds later, I lost my mind again because Washington scored. And lost my mind in not a good way. That's why I think I said on this podcast, y'all don't want to see me when I'm watching my teams. Y'all don't want to see me. Briggs is
I
a lot more mellow than I am, but y'all do not want to see me.
I think I ended up yelling a little bit more than you did, though. If you're my neighbor and you're listening to this, I'm very sorry for what you had to hear last night. Um,
Bro, they heard me. They heard me. I was losing
Joey,
my mind last night.
the iPad was only on half volume, so I don't know if
That's
anyone else
fine.
heard you.
You probably had to turn it down after the first Habs goal.
But we'll get in more to the hockey stuff later. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, listened to our conversation with Will, talking about the importance of club sports, how that kind of plays a role into well, I don't want to say, well, I guess we'll call them student athletes, but they're not Division One, they're not NCAA. They're out there playing it just for the love of the game at this point. And so thank you guys for tuning in there. Some real good information there, especially if you're a high schooler looking to go and continue playing at the next level. So some good information there. But another thing that we haven't been able to cover since it's been a minute since we've released a normal episode. The women's national championship and kind of like the viewership breakdown. I've seen a lot of stuff on social media about this, and I mean, you will not find a bigger college women's basketball supporter than me. I mean, I've come out about this numerous times. I've been in support of it. That's kind of part of being here at South Carolina. But when everyone's out here like, oh, the women's game was so much better than the men's, it got so much more viewers. Look at the timestamps on these games. One of them was 3 p.m. on a Sunday. The other was 9:30 on a Monday. Are you freaking insane? No shit, there's going to be more viewers for a game at 3 p.m. on a Sunday. There's more people awake then. There's more people just sitting around on their couch enjoying family time. Oh, hey, let's turn on the Women's National Championship. Joey, I know you would have been asleep had you not had to watch it to break it down for the podcast. But you have people who go and have to get up early in the morning who aren't able to go and watch that. I mean, 9:30 on a Monday night. Are you serious, NCAA? Like, if you're gonna have it on a 9:30 slot, put it on a Friday night or a Saturday night when people can afford to be able to stay up late and not have to suffer the consequences in the morning. Given there are plenty of college kids out there that watch it, there are plenty of people out there that watch the national championship in general. I know the men's came in around 14.8 million, the women's came in at 18.7 million, but I'm not saying that the women's national championship didn't deserve to be watched. Great game, fantastic game. But I don't think that you can go out there and be like, oh, like all this stuff that's going around on social media needs to stop. Like when you're saying, oh, this game was so much more better than the other one, when I think the men's game was a little bit more entertaining just because of the matchups we had between Klingon and Edie and the entire UConn team, what they were able to do against Purdue and how they were able to exploit Edie, bring him out of the paint and kind of work around that and then get different ways to the basket. I mean, it was an art. I loved watching, but to say that one game wasn't as good, or like I've heard people say, hey, the men's March Madness wasn't as good because I can only name like one men's college basketball player where I could name like 4 or 5. I will say I think that the media coverage has heavily favored the women's tournament this year. I don't know if you would agree with that, but just from my perspective, I think the women's coverage has gotten it, or women's tournament has gotten at least twice the coverage that the men's has. Um, so that's just my spiel on that. But again, I don't know how you can compare viewership when it was 2 complete different time slots and 2 complete different populations that would have been able to watch the game.
So multiple things. Both games were hell of a game. South Carolina ended up best player in college basketball versus best team in college basketball. I think we can agree with that. The best team ended up winning. It's why college basketball is a lot more of a team sport, especially in the men's versus the NBA, where three players can take over a team, take over a game, whatever. I think the women's national championship got more viewers than the college football national championship. I think. I could be wrong.
I believe it peaked somewhere, like 21, 22 million.
I know that the Iowa LSU
UConn game. It was Iowa UConn.
That was the one that had the most viewership?
If any basketball game since like 2019, I think.
And it had more viewership than the college football national championship. So this is the problem with playing national championship games on a Monday. I will say it. The same thing with college football. Why are we playing these games on a Monday? Even 8 p.m. I live on the East Coast. I have to be up by 4 a.m. to go to work. 2 a.m. if I want to hit the gym that day. I have to be up early. You scheduling games at 9:20 p.m. does not work for those in the working class, which is a lot of your viewership. A lot of people work these 7 to 3 jobs or 6 to 2, especially these blue collar people like I am. And you're losing viewership because if I didn't do a sports podcast, I probably would have rewatched it another day. I probably would have watched it on the Tuesday, the day after. Why are we scheduling the games? Then for the breakdown of the men's national championship, like I said, what have I been saying like the last 3 weeks? You take all the pieces around Edie out of the game. Zach Edie still dropped like 35.
Yeah, he had a great game.
35 and 10. He didn't have, you know what the biggest thing is? He had no assists, which told you how much around him scored. And the women's and the men's were both similar games. Both of the better teams ended up pulling away. And my last point on this is I do believe women's college basketball had more star power this year. I don't think that's going to happen next year.
I would agree with that. I think a lot of their star power has left and gone to the WNBA or graduated.
I also think ESPN is going to completely fumble this WNBA situation, but a topic for a different day.
They usually fumble a lot of these kind of new situations. I don't like the way ESPN has handled a lot of sports coverage the past couple of years.
I don't like the way they've done the MLB, the NHL, the NBA they do all right on, but I mean they could do better on at the NFL too. They've got the money. The only thing they really do really well is college football.
Yeah,
I think they do well with most college sports in general.
And I think
But
when you look, I think the big one is baseball. And when you're like for the ones that ESPN kind of gets the short end of the or shorts, I don't even what is it ESPN that has the broadcasting rights for baseball, or is it
no, I
just like
think
the
it's Fox. Because
okay?
Fox does all the playoffs.
Because
Fox and I think TNT.
my big thing is when, especially during the regular season, when you're trying to grow the game and you're trying to bring people back in after you had problems with games being way too long, not entertaining, and all that. When you need to bring people back in, when you put it behind the paywall of, I don't know what it's called, MLB Plus, like, you know what I mean?
MLB TV.
MLB
Well,
TV.
MLB TV is their own thing, so that's the MLB's problem. But ESPN Plus, ESPN streams a lot of their game. I think they get like a game a night on ESPN Plus. I want to say.
But even then, you're losing a lot of the market. And I, I personally, I ended up getting rid of ESPN Plus because when I originally got it, it was like $4.99 a month. It's now up to like $10.99 a month. It's insane how expensive it's gotten. But I'm not going to go out there and have like NFL Red Zone, MLB TV, ESPN Plus, and
YouTube
like NHL
TV.
Power Play. Well, yeah, and I'm not. Well, I have YouTube TV now. That I mean, that's something that my family has. But still, like, no one wants to go out and pay for all of these things separately, and therefore you're going to lose viewership. You're going to lose fans. People are going to go away from the game because it's becoming harder to be able to access it.
And it's only getting worse. You've seen the NFL go to Amazon Prime. Another thing I want to say on the MLB, and we'll dive deep on this another day, is the pitch clock is a complete and utter failure. I get it speeds the games up, but you're killing these pitchers' arms. And
I think
Spencer
they
Strider is a huge example. Shane Bieber's now hurt. A lot of these teams are losing their star pitchers, and an ace is hard to find. So you losing him for an entire season, I mean, Shohei is now not pitching this season. Shane Bieber's out. Spencer Strider's gone. So they fumbled a lot of that situation. I don't know how we went from women's basketball and the basketball national championships to talking about the MLB's failures, but completely agree with all that. I don't know if you have anything else you want to say on that.
I have one quick thing I want to say on the MLB, and then we'll talk about Caitlin Clark here for a second. Um, I watched a video. I think it was Tyler Glasnow was talking about the difference between the balls from like when they were able to use sunscreen and stuff like that to now where it's like chalky. And he was like, when I'm having to grip the ball that much harder and I'm still throwing it 99 miles an hour, it's putting so much more stress on the tendons and stuff in his elbow because he's having to grip so much harder. And he thinks that, hey, allow pitchers to use some sort of substance to make the ball a little bit grippier, just so that they're able to sustain their arms and stay healthier and not have so many of these star pitchers where you see Otani, Strider, Bieber, as you just said, go out and be out for the season or long extended periods of time and really be able to preserve it, shorten the injuries, make it safer for them. But then now you're also going to make it more of a pitcher's duel. So I think thin line then will be has to walk there, but that's something they need to look at soon, like very, very soon. But I'd say go.
I'd just say we'll dive deeper on this another day because there's been so many injuries.
I think it needs its own
It's
episode. I mean, there's just so much to like explore and kind of go into there.
yeah, and we'll see what happens more throughout the season. That's my take on that one. But if you don't got anything else, we can get to the Masters real quick.
Hold up,
Congrats.
I got something on Caitlin Clark.
Oh, yeah, yep.
So
Let's get this out of the way.
I I don't know. I think you disagree with me on this. I've talked to some people, and like there's a lot of conversation about whether or not Caitlin Clark is the greatest women's college basketball player of all time. Um, I personally don't think so. I don't think she's the greatest. I don't think that she has, as crazy as this sounds, I don't think she has the accolades for it. When I mean that, I mean she doesn't have a Final Four most outstanding player or a national championship most outstanding player. She doesn't have a national championship. She went twice and lost twice. And then you look at someone like Brianna Stewart, who went 4 times and then had finals national or most outstanding players. So, and the way I kind of explained this to someone was look at the debate between LeBron and Jordan. Both are all time greats of the sport, no doubt about it. What separates Jordan from LeBron?
His championships or him
It's
not losing in the finals. But
it's the championships. So, and I mean, Caitlin Clark, one of the greats. She has elevated the women's college basketball game, and she has elevated herself from the rest of the normal pack of women's college basketball players. She has gotten herself into the circle of the elite women's college basketball players, but she has nothing there to separate her from them. A lot of them have championships. She does not.
other than every record ever, every
They're all.
scoring record ever goes to Caitlin Clark.
She's the greatest scorer, but she's not the greatest player. She
It
wasn't.
depends what you consider greatest player, though. And look, I can see where you're coming from, but did Brianna Stewart get the viewership? What makes Caitlin Clark the greatest to me is how she's boosted up women's basketball so much.
Oh yeah,
Women's basketball is as watched as it was last week because of Caitlin Clark. I don't know if the national championship would have gotten as much viewers without Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark in it. I know Angel Reese wasn't in the Natty, but without one of those two, because there are a lot of people that are Angel Reese fans, a lot of people that are Caitlin Clark fans. If you would have had UConn in that Natty, I don't think you're getting that 18 million in viewership. I don't. Because I feel like most people knew South Carolina was going to win. I think everyone knew South Carolina was the better team. I think what separates Caitlin Clark is that she's completely changed the game of women's basketball and has completely boosted her up. So it really depends on what you consider the greatest. And a ring would really boost her argument. I think there are two sides to this coin that can be equally applied.
I will say, had she won just one ring, I would be more than willing to say she's the greatest. I think that what she's done and the pedigree that she has would have, and plus a national championship, would have vaulted her over Brianna Stewart's 4. But because she didn't, I don't know if I can say that. Like she wasn't, like she got it done kind of when it mattered. But like you look at to some of these regular season games, like they were in some battles down the stretch with some teams that weren't good. She was very streaky sometimes. Like if she didn't hit 1 or 2 shots early, like she wasn't going to do very well for an extended period of time. She get fired up at some point, but it was very streaky. But yeah, had she won just one, I'd be more than willing to say that she was the greatest.
Like I said, I think there's two sides to this coin because what makes her the greatest to me is what she's done for women's basketball. That's my thing. And you can be on the argument she doesn't have a national championship, but those championship games were also watched because she was in them. So there's two sides to the coin. I don't want to spend too long arguing about this because we're not going to convince one another. But I think it's a very interesting argument to have, just like the LeBron and MJ argument. It's what do you value more, the changing of the game, or do you value the championships more? That's where you have to argue it. And there's probably people that are like 50-50 on this issue. But like I said, I've said where I stand, you stand where you stand.
So one last question, because I think this is going to kind of bridge the gap here a little bit. Next year, after Caitlin Clark's gone, after Angel Reese, Camila Cardoso, all of these bigger name players that have really brought the eyes to the sport go on to the WNBA. And the women's national championship only gets 8 million, 9 million views next year. It does a massive drop off. What she did, not sustaining, how would you take that into account?
It depends what the WNBA viewership does to me. If people are still watching, I think the Fever drafted Caitlin Clark.
Mm-hmm. But then she's no
If
longer in college. So.
their viewership goes up, yes, but if you're considering if we're taking a drop off in college, if we're taking the drop off in college into account, then we have to take the viewership in the WNBA into account. That's my thing. Is you can't apply one side of it and then not apply the other. You have to apply both sides of this. So if the WNBA's viewership shoots up, then I still stand with my argument. I think I stand with it either way. It's just which side are you on? Do you value national championships more? Or do you value the changing of the game? Michael Jordan did both. That's why I think he's the GOAT. But even then,
I agree.
LeBron changed the game.
I think Jordan. I think Jordan's the greatest in men's. I think actually, I'd say Jordan's probably the greatest in all of basketball history, just because of what he was able to do with what he was given. All that. That's another conversation for another day. We might debate that over the summer.
But look at what Caitlin Clark did with what she was also given, because she doesn't recruit the players.
She didn't win anything though.
We're going to apply that to college kids, though?
There's no national championship there. Like, you can't say, look at what she did with what she was given when there's no national championship.
She was playing with plumbers and pipe fitters. Like,
no,
I mean, those women are probably as good as me, and I'm bad at basketball. I'm awful.
They had one of the other players get drafted. Yeah, I think in the first round too.
Stolke?
No, I think it was. I don't know if Stolke got drafted, or I don't even know if she declared for the draft. I think she was on the younger side, but Kate Martin got drafted. I don't know if it was a first round. It was. I know she got drafted the Aces. I think it may have been the second round. I'm not entirely sure. Fact check me all you want on that. Don't take my word for it. I know for a fact she got drafted though. So she had ancillary pieces there that were able to get stuff done. And as we saw early in that national championship game, they got stuff done. I'm going to kind of cut us off on that. We talk about that for days if no one stopped us. But Masters, I thought it was great. I know you're not the greatest golf guy, but I mean,
I still have time.
that's understand. That's very understandable. I think my big takeaway was I think the biggest thing from the Masters this year was whether or not Scotty was going to have to withdraw because his wife was going into labor. And I think that speaks volumes to how many people after the first day or two were like, yeah, I think Scotty's got this in the bag. But I mean, what a showing from the guy. I mean, impressive. I think he won by like 4 or 5 coming down the stretch.
4.
So great. I will say DeChambeau started off hot, got Liv up there early, but then all those Liv guys fell off a cliff. I mean, my goodness, it was. And I think I don't know if I talked to you about this. I may have talked to someone else.
You did.
I think the big reason for this is when you look at some of these courses that these Liv guys are playing, they're not playing like hard courses. They're playing more resort style courses. Given there's some aspect of challenge in, but it's nowhere close to the same level of challenge as you'd see when it comes to a PGA Tour course, something that they use on tour, and especially when it comes to the Masters, which is, I'd say, probably one of the hardest courses that they play throughout the year. And so when you go and you play kind of more of these resort style courses and go and have to play some of this massive step up of a course, I don't think you're going to perform that well. I don't think that Liv only playing 3 days factors into it at all. Guys love playing golf. They play golf 7 days a week. We all know that. It doesn't matter. So I don't think that's a factor. I think the biggest part is they're not playing as competitive courses. And if we're going to see a Liv PGA merger, we're gonna need to see these live guys play more challenging courses to have a better shot in these majors.
Do you think that if they do merge, how much power do you think the Lib has? If they do merge back?
Honestly, I have no idea how this would work out. I could see, honestly, I would love to see the PGA Tour do some events in like a team format or adopt some sort of a team format. That would be awesome. And even do it where you can have it be like locally, have guys kind of planted in different areas, um, and do something like that. I think that'd be awesome. And that way you'd be able to grow the game because you'd give someone in I'm going to use Boston as an example. I think there was going to like Tiger had an indoor league, and I think they were going to have a team out of Boston. And so I'm just going to use them as an example. You'd give someone in Boston who may not usually watch golf a chance to go and watch it because they're like, oh, hey, this team from Boston's on, and they've got X, Y, and Z notable names playing. I'm gonna go, or I'm gonna support them on TV. I'm gonna support them, maybe get a hat or something because it's got that Boston name. So I think I would like to see the PGA Tour adopt that sort of format.
Regionality.
Yeah, as opposed to just like play it because it's like I'm a big JT guy. I'm a big Rom guy. So if I saw them on a team, and it'd be like, oh, I'm now a New Orleans fan. I'm now a Miami fan. So kind of how that works, seeing where everyone's favorite players go. And I think that way, PGA Tour could bring in so much money off of merchandise sales, or you could have them go to the teams, help fund some of the travel and stuff there. But then you'd also, because it's that team format, utilize kind of how Liv does it now and how you'd see in high school and college golf, where you use aggregate scores, but then you also have solo winners. So, I mean, I don't know what would happen. I think the PGA would kind of keep their power per se. Liv might bring some money into it and maybe some ideas for formatting change and changes to how the game is played. I'd say PGA is going to keep rules, but then they use the harder courses. That way, when they go and play these majors, especially when you go over to Europe with Ireland and England and all those courses, where those courses are much more challenging than when you'd see it like a resort in Miami or a resort in South Carolina, something like that. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. I don't know when a deal will get done. I think they've been close for a while, but I haven't heard anything about it recently.
Good stuff. I ain't got much. Scotty stayed hot, or Scotty was hot, looked good, and he basically took it away in the 4th round. So
I mean, I think the MVP of the Masters has got to be his wife for holding that kid in.
yeah,
I don't
good for him though. Good for him.
Yeah,
Congratulations to them.
I don't
Not
know
only
if
did he get $3.6 million, but he also has a kid. So good for him. Not that money was a problem, but all right. You want to get to this UFC?
Yeah, go right ahead.
All right. So UFC 300, it lived up to the hype. I don't know why people are saying that 299 was better. The prelims were really good. Aljamain Sterling looked good in his debut in his new weight class in featherweight. Bo Nickel won again. I only watched the pay-per-view fights. I wasn't able to catch the prelims. But Bo Nickel won by submission. Arman, I don't even know how to pronounce that beat Oliver. You can say it. Charles
Oliveira.
Yeah. And then the fight of the might be the fight of the year. Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje. What? Max Holloway was winning this fight. And this man, in the last 10 seconds, told Gaethje, get in here. And they just started throwing shots the last 10 seconds. What a knockout. Gaethje got dropped flat on his face. So, straight baller stuff from Holloway. I think Holloway got himself a lot of fans. I didn't watch the women's fight, to be honest with you. Welly continues to do her thing. And then Pereira dropped Jamal Hill, which him waving off the low blow and then waving off I think it was Herb Dean. Waved him
Mm-hmm.
off and then just dropped Jamal Hill. That was impressive too. So it lived up to the hype. There were a bunch of good fights. You had McGregor get announced to fight Chandler at 303. You have Islam and Poirier at 301, which are going to be two great fights. This is Poirier's last chance. So there's a lot to be excited about. And I love Dana White in the post 300 interview talking about the Holloway fight. He said, I sell holy shit moments for a living. And that indeed was something to the effect of that was the biggest holy shit moment you'll ever see. Excuse my language, but he wasn't wrong. That was the fight. That was the last 10 seconds of the year.
I think, I don't know, I can't remember what fight it was, but do you remember it may have been Holloway again. When they go and it was like the last 10 seconds of the fight, and both fighters looked at each other and they shook heads and they're like, yeah. And then they just stood in the middle and just started wailing on each other.
It might have been Holloway because Holloway. That's not the first time Holloway's pointed to the center of the ring.
So it may have been him. I mean, what a way to go out, though. Especially if you're at that event in person. I mean, the fight's gone a distance, and then in the last 10, 15 seconds, they just stand in the middle, no running away, no backing down now. It is just straight fists of fury. And, I mean, they're just beating the shit out of each other. It's fucking awesome. Oh, my bad.
You're not wrong. That was a holy shit moment, and good for Holloway. He got himself a championship, and I saw Holloway knock out the Korean Zombie. I think it was. I think that was his most recent fight before this one, and I was like, this dude knows how to fight, and I like watching Holloway. So it was a great pay per view. Like I said, I wasn't able to watch the prelims, but I watched the highlights. A lot of those looked like they were good. So good on Dana, and I'm definitely awaiting that McGregor and Chandler fight. We'll see if McGregor can return to his prime form, and we'll talk about that as it gets closer. So back to the meat of the podcast, NHL playoffs. Do you have any general thoughts before, or we kind of already gave those? But do you have anything else before we get into
Um,
series by series?
so the Eastern Conference set in stone now, I believe.
Yes.
Um, I mean, I know Tampa is beating up on Toronto right now. I believe the score's 5-1. But I mean, it's a meaningless game.
Yeah, it
Um,
doesn't
I
matter.
will say, from what I've seen, not really the way Toronto wants to go out. Usually, I think you want to build some positive momentum of some sort going into the playoffs. I don't think Toronto's going to have that. I know we've talked about the Toronto heebie-jeebie curse. I don't think Toronto beats Boston. And we'll get into that in a second. Um, Real quick, I know last day of NHL regular season, I believe is tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
Tonight on data release. Tomorrow
So yeah,
as a time of recording.
so
And then
Thursday.
date of release is the last two meaningful
So
games.
yeah, and then that would be between Vegas and LA. Both they've already secured their spots in. They're just jockeying for seeding right now. I believe Vegas is up 1 point on LA. So if Vegas wins tomorrow, regardless of what LA does, Vegas will play. Who is that? Edmonton. So they'll Edmonton will host Vegas. Vegas will take the third spot in the Pacific. And then if Vegas loses and LA wins, LA will play in Edmonton, take that third spot in the Pacific, and then Vegas will end up having to go and play Dallas and have to take that wild card 2 spot.
And if Vegas loses in overtime and LA wins, then LA gets the third seed.
So Vegas needs a
Because LA,
a win of any kind.
yes,
A win of any kind, and then a loss of any kind, and an LA win gets LA.
if Vegas wins, then they're secured. If Vegas loses in overtime or a shootout, then LA has the tiebreaker over Vegas in regulation wins. So, Florida versus Tampa. I like this Florida team. I don't trust Tampa. Tampa gets hot. I just think Florida has too much for them, especially what they got at the deadline. I think Florida is about at least 4 forward lines deep. They're 6 deep on defense, and they've got 2 solid goalies, but I don't think Bobrovsky's coming out. Tampa, they've got the proven commodities. They've got the experience. They've got Vasilevsky, who's always stood tall in the playoffs. Vasilevsky is not going to be the one that sell this series for Tampa. I think this goes to at least 6. And I don't think home ice is going to play much of an advantage. I really don't. So you could see a scenario, and we've seen it before, where the away team wins all 4 of the first 4 games. Or even Florida drop the first. Florida could go down 3-1 easy. I could see that easily. So, but in Florida losing their first 2 at home, this is going to be a very physical series. So I'm very excited to see this one. I think the key to Florida is to out physical Tampa. And I think Tampa has got to get the depth scoring that they're so known for in the playoffs, which is why they won back-to-back cups. You can say COVID cups, whatever, 8 million over the cap, whatever. But I think the depth that Tampa has historically had, I don't think it's there. I don't think Tampa's 12 and 6 deep. I don't. So can they get those depth players to step up? And then Florida has to out physical them. Matthew Tkachuk has to do his thing, get Vegas or Tampa into penalty trouble. And you've got home ice advantage, but I think it'll be very interesting to see if it plays out well at all.
I love the matchup between the 2 of them. I mean, I love this matchup, and then I love the Boston Toronto. I mean, 2 great rivalries that are starting to develop in hockey, and especially with the Southern Florida one, where it's like a turf war. I mean, could not write a better storyline. When it comes to actual gameplay, Florida, I know regular season doesn't matter anymore, but Florida did win the season series 2-1 and had a game in there where they put a 9-piece up on them. So my biggest concern is if Tampa goes out and in game 1 or game 2 lets Florida hang one on them, like a big one. I'm concerned for Vasilevsky's I don't want to say mental state, but like his confidence going in later. And because if Florida goes out and puts a quick 3 or 4 up on them in the first period, which they've got that speed, I think they've got that scoring, especially after what they've added at the trade deadline, then how do you think that's going to affect Vasilevsky as not only that game will go on, but as the series goes on?
I haven't seen any of that from Vasilevsky. I'm not concerned about Vasilevsky. No, Florida could hang 15 on Vasilevsky in the first 2 games. I do not think that Vasilevsky will be the problem. I really think that it's going to be Tampa's depth that loses them this series. And I can see it very easily Florida getting Vegas why do I keep saying that? Florida getting Tampa into foul trouble. Penalty trouble.
Bro just
Cannot
went
speak the
different
words
cities
out.
and different sports.
But
Kids, that's why you don't do crack.
Okay, Briggs.
Joey doesn't do crack. Disclaimer, that was a joke.
I can't even drink. What are you talking about? So Vasilevsky does not concern me whatsoever. You could see a game where Florida shoots 50 times and only scores twice. I think that is also very real. If Florida is scoring early, I think it affects John Cooper more than anything. I think John Cooper is a great coach. He's a legend here in Hampton Roads for bringing a Calder Cup back here. He's a legend there. I will always be a John Cooper fan, even though I don't like Tampa in general. So it's just it would concern me the way the rest of the series gets coached. And I think Tampa could very well outcoach Florida. I forget who's at Florida now. Who the coach is at Florida?
It's the guy with glasses. I can't remember what his name. It's I think it starts with.
It's not Burnett.
Did he leave?
I think he got fired. Hold on, I'm scanning.
It's Paul Maurice. It is. I was right. It is the guy with the glasses.
Okay, it is Paul Maurice. Yeah, Burnett. I think Burnett was the coach last year, though.
I don't think so. (2022) to present.
Okay, I was wrong. Anyways, Boston and Toronto. I think this is going to be the same old story for the Leafs. They made it out of the first round last year, and then who did they get smacked by? Florida? They made it out of the first round last year. I know that.
They beat Tampa in the first round. I don't think they played Florida at all.
Was it Boston? No, it was Carolina. Maybe. I don't know. Either way. The key for Boston to me is because, like I said earlier, Boston does not have good forwards on paper. And Toronto's deeper in that forward group. I think Boston's going to be able to score. I think Boston's too deep at goaltender, which is huge in the playoffs. I think that might be Toronto's downfall. I think the goaltending matchup is going to be fascinating. I think Boston's going to have to out-physical Toronto. And Toronto's stars have to step up. Matthews can't go silent in the playoffs. I don't think Matthews has done all that in the playoffs. I think Nylander was the best player in their playoffs for them last year. So
I agree with that.
So I think Boston's defense and goaltending is going to outweigh them in this series. So I think blue line depth is going to push Boston that way. I think they need to perform for Boston to win.
You pretty much covered it all. I think it's the same old story for Toronto. I don't think you make it out of the first round. I think Boston's going to have you. I don't know how, but I think Boston's goaltending is what's going to do it. I think you touched on that, but I think Toronto, you're just not going to be able to do it. I don't know why, but you're not going to be able to make it out of the first round. You don't have the depth. I think that's something we touched on before was the problem with depth. And so I think that's going to bite them in the ass. They're going to have to break up that core group, bring in some guys that are a little bit more that have a little bit better value to them, a lot cheaper. That way they can get more depth in that bottom 6 forward group. Because right now they're very top heavy on offense. Yeah, I mean we've talked about this before with Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, Marner. I mean that's an insane amount of money per year, and that doesn't leave you a lot to be able to go and get quality bottom 6 forwards. Which, and you look at a lot of these teams that have won the cups these past couple of years. It's usually the bottom 6 forwards that will make a difference, like be the breaking part of a series. If those bottom 6 are able to get going, then that team's usually going to be able to do very well. They're usually the nitty gritty guys, the guys who go in, penalty kill guys. very physical guys. So if those guys are able to get hot, get going, get the legs churning early, could be great series for whoever they're on. Very, very bad for the other team. And I think that other team is going to end up being Toronto.
I think whoever's going to win it's whoever gets the hottest goalie who is going to win the cup. Whoever has the hot goaltending is going to win the cup. It's every year. Aiden Hill last year. Colorado, not so much, even though I think it was Kemper who was hot.
Mm-hmm.
Was somewhat hot, but it wasn't the same. Vasilevsky, the 2 years Tampa won it. But anyways, the Rangers against the Washington Capitals.
Here, I'll take this.
You'll take the lead on this one?
I'll take this. So
don't give me no delusion.
It won't, but I think you might laugh at this, but I see this Caps team possibly being that Florida team from last year. The Caps have been extremely physical these past couple weeks, racking up. I think they had over 50 hits against Tampa, and I think they were up near that yesterday against Philly. They were very close to 50 against Boston, and so I think that physicality is going to be what helps them. They don't score very often, but hey, they get it done when it matters. One of the biggest keys I have for Washington is to get shots on goal. You need to start getting shots on goal. When you do that, especially when you saw that Tampa game they had last Saturday, when they got shots on goal, they got nice rebounds, and they were able to put those in the back of the net. You start getting shots on goal against Shesterkin, and start getting, hey, he might save some of them. Some of them are going to pop out. You got to put those in the back of the net. So it's just get shots. So that's one of the big things. Maintain your physicality throughout the playoffs. If you do that, you'll be able to force turnovers, get those nitty-gritty plays, and really kind of be able to swing the momentum of the series. For New York, you got to get your top guys going. You can't let them kind of shy away from it now, and you got to get going early. You haven't played meaningful hockey in a while, and you're coming in and playing against a team who's been playing Game 7s for the past 2 weeks. So you're going to need to get going early, or else you're going to find yourself on your heels very quickly. So you got to lock in and get that done fast. And I think one of the big, I think I touched on this, the top guys got to get going early. I think that's got to be a quick 4-goal first game for New York. That's got to be some scoring from Zibanejad and some of those other guys. Kreider. One of the big things I want to see from this series, I want to see a Wilson Rempe fight. That would be awesome.
There probably will be. Like you said, Rangers got to get that top line scoring. Lafreniere is playing really well. I think the top guys have to do their thing, but I can see the depth helping New York, which Washington does not have. Washington's second line guys are New York's third line forwards. Washington's got to keep up the physicality, but you also can't have. Last night they had 18 shots against Philly, got outshot 28-18. You're not going to have Lindgren or Kemper hold up for a 7-game series against a team as talented as New York or as good as Carolina, who they play in the next round. The only way I can see Washington making it to the conference finals is if they get the Islanders.
They wouldn't play Carolina in the next round.
Yes, they would, because they played Metropolitan 1. They played Metropolitan 1.
Carolina's in the Atlantic.
No, it's not. No, they're not. They're in the Metro.
Okay, that's right. I read the paper wrong. I thought, okay, Carolina's playing New York. Okay, yeah, we're good.
Yeah, I was right. Thank you.
Right.
Anyways, shots on goal for Washington. They got to keep playing the defense they've been playing, though. The physicality and the shots. It's going to be a balancing act. I feel like you're going to have to choose one or the other. The only thing that worries me is, can they score on Shesterkin? Is Shesterkin going to be good enough to where Washington has to shoot 35 times a game? They haven't had to do that. And when Washington shoots more than 30 times a game, they score 4 goals. They shot 34 times against Tampa. They scored 4 goals. When they lost to the Sabres, they had 24 shots. Granted, they beat the Bruins and the Flyers last night, but you're going to have to score more than 2 goals in a 7-game series. you're just not going to be able to do it. And that's the thing that really scares me about Washington is, can they score? In New York, like I said, like you said and I said, have said till we're blue in the face, their top guys have got to get going. I don't know if they need a 4-goal game. I feel like this series is going to start out really slow. It's going to be an under type of game, under 5.5. I don't see a lot of these games being high scoring the first game. But like you said, top guys. Anything else on that, or can we get to Carolina?
We can go on. We got to speed
All
this
right.
up though.
Carolina and the Islanders. These two teams like to combine for the most boring series in the first round. Carolina is capitalize on the pieces you got in the deadline. You're going to be able to outscore. The only thing that I see the Islanders having the edge in is goaltending, and Freddie Anderson has been so hot since he came back. Last I seen, he had only had 1 loss in like 6 games. So if they get good goal, if Freddie Anderson's hot, Carolina could go win the cup. If Freddie Anderson is really hot, because they have the roster around him. So I think Freddie Anderson can't give up bad goals. I think they've got to get good goaltending. I think this is a team where you can't be flopping out goalies if you lose 2 games. But if you lose game 2 and 3, you can't switch out your goalie. I think you're going to have to trust them. So I think Carolina might take this in 5. We'll get to our picks in a second for these series. But and for New York, you're going to have to play the defense, and Sorokin's going to have to play out of his line. You're going to have to play good defense. You're going to have to be more physical than them. You're going to have to fire the puck on net because you don't have a lot of scores. Antagonize Carolina, get them into penalty trouble, I think. But New York's defense is where they're best at. They've got to stick to that, and they've got to play physical and get these top guys for Carolina off their game.
Some good stuff there. Real quick, we're gonna go series by series, starting with Caps, Rangers, then Carolina, and who you have and how many games it's gonna take.
For New York and Washington?
Mm-hmm.
New York in 6.
I'm gonna go on the flip side, take Washington in 6. Canes, Islanders.
Carolina in 5.
I'm gonna stick with that. Also go Carolina in 5. Florida, Tampa.
Florida in 7.
I was gonna take Florida in 6.
I just don't think home ice is going to play that much of an advantage. That's the thing. I think it's going to be a turf war. I think Tampa's just one of those teams, and seeing them go out in the first round last year was insane to me. Who do you got in that? You said Florida in 6?
Yeah, I've got Florida in 6. Boston and Toronto.
Boston in 7.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to have them breaking the entire city of Toronto's hearts and do it again. I think it's shades of what, 2013?
Every year that Toronto plays Boston in the playoffs.
The Game 7 choke where Toronto was up like 4-1 in the third period and ended up losing 5-4. I think that was 2013.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of years that Toronto does that. I mean, they choked it. Didn't they choke like a 3-1 series lead last year?
Year before that, I think they came back against the Lightning last year. Or I think they beat the Lightning in 6. They beat the Lightning in 6 last year.
Yeah. I don't know. Either way, Western Conference, Dallas, and we're going to go with LA as the wild card 2 right now, because I think Vegas is going to beat the Ducks tomorrow. So we'll go with that for now. Dallas, they've changed the way they play. They used to be super defensive and all that, but they can score now. And they play a different brand of hockey. That's why they're always so good, and they typically make it to the second and third round every year. So, and I just don't think LA has enough at forward to compete with Dallas's forwards. Ottinger is going to get his. I think Ottinger is going to play well. So LA, I don't see a way where LA wins this series. I just don't think they have enough. If they are going to win this series, I think it's going to have to be penalty trouble and physicality, even though I believe I don't have that on this. But I think Dallas is one of the better penalty killing teams. I think you're going to have to get you're going to have to get scoring from all over the blue line, and you're going to have I think it's Corpusalo play out of his mind, which he did last year against Edmonton. So I think they played Edmonton.
Okay. Real quick, I think you've got Dallas winning, but how many games do you think it's going to take Dallas to discard of the Kings?
I think it could be a sweep. I think it's a sweep.
I'm going to take Dallas in 5. I think LA is able to squeeze one out against the Stars. I don't think LA's got, you touched on it, I don't think they've got the depth. I think Dallas, the way they've played this season, and I think they've played with like a tenacity and aggressiveness that I think is only going to get ramped up during the playoffs. I don't think LA is going to be able to contain that. I don't really think there are going to be very many teams in the West that are going to be able to contain it. I think the team with the best chance is going to be Vegas, especially with they got Mark Stone coming back off the LTIR. As he magically got healed from his lacerated spleen, which takes 6 months to heal. But guess how long it took for Mark Stone to get healed?
What, like 2 months?
1 month. It took him 1 month since he was put on IR. So some shady shit going on there in Vegas, as always. But on to Series 2, Winnipeg and Colorado. Their regular season finale, Winnipeg beat the shit out of Colorado. I mean, Colorado just looked like they did not want to be there, given it'll be different when the playoffs come around. But I think Winnipeg has done good for themselves this year. They've really, I think they're kind of like, they're like Washington, but they've been able to score. I haven't heard of the bottom 6
They're
of Winnipeg.
Washington better.
Well,
Better
everyone's
goaltending.
but yeah, Hellebuck's like insane. But when you look at how often is the bottom 6 from Winnipeg contributing in a very meaningful way?
And I think that's where Colorado is going to outweigh them. Colorado's lost some of the, I mean, when they lost to the Sharks, I think it was in Vegas. I think when they lose to a lot of these teams, it's sometimes forces out of their control or bad goaltending. I think it's going to come down to this goaltending matchup. Can Colorado get the goaltending that they need? If you're Colorado, you've got to keep Nate and Nichushkin hot. And hope Gabe Landeskog somehow makes it back. If Landeskog makes it back, that would be huge for them. But you got to keep the big guys hot. I think Colorado's big guys, if they get going, I think they have a chance to be able to knock Winnipeg out, no matter how good Hellebuck plays. I think Hellebuck's going to play out of his mind. But on the flip side, Winnipeg's that gritty enough team that's so good on defense that you could see them just, if Hellebuck gets hot enough where he's stopping 40 shots a game, there's nothing going to stop Winnipeg winning. And I think they could very easily beat Dallas and whoever comes out of the Pacific. So I think this will be very interesting. I'll be rooting for Colorado. I love Nathan MacKinnon. I think Nathan MacKinnon will be the difference in the series. I think Colorado's star power will be the difference in the series.
Okay. Your prediction for this series and how many games?
Colorado in 7.
I'm going to take Winnipeg in 6. I think that great.
I just don't know if they're going to. It really depends on goaltending.
Is what you need in the playoffs. So,
but Colorado's been physical in the playoffs. One of the biggest worries is that number 2 center. Because you've seen what happened when Kadri left. Now Compher's gone. They've somewhat replaced it, and they did well at the deadline. But how much depth are you going to get in that number 2 center spot? Which I think is the same problem for Boston. But Vancouver and Nashville. I think Vancouver could go down. I think
I
they
agree.
could go down in 5. Like, I think
I
Nashville's that good.
I think Nashville. I think
And
it
they're
was
really
after
hot.
it was after they canceled the trip to the Sphere in Las Vegas. They went on a massive tear, just taking down everyone and anyone in their path. And so we've talked about it for the last couple months. It's been another one of the big sayings besides the physicality wins trophies is you got to get hot at the right time. And Nashville is, I think, the epitome of that right now.
They are
I
4,
think,
5-1 in their last 10, though.
but they've been clinched for a while.
That's true. But just a fair warning. But what goal do you get? And goaltending is one of the biggest thing in the NHL playoffs because like I said earlier, goaltending. Whoever has the hottest goaltending typically wins the Stanley Cup. You've seen that, like I said, the last couple of cups. So if UZ Saros is playing like he typically does in the playoffs, and Demko's really good, I'm not going to discount that. I think Nashville's going to be able to stop Vancouver's Stars from scoring enough. I can Vancouver score enough? If I'm Vancouver, I think you need your top guys. I think you need to get Petey activated very quickly. I think he's got to be on both sides of the ice playing, doing what he typically does, especially because there were rumblings about him being unhappy. There's a reason Vancouver's got 44 regulation wins, though. So I can see it going either way. I could also see Vancouver sweeping them. I like the pieces Nashville's added in the offseason, and they've looked really good. And Nashville's one of those teams where they're coached well enough and they could get really hot. And we could see Nashville beat Florida last year, honestly. But I also could see the West going very chalk. So Nashville, you got to get the good goaltending. You got to out physical Vancouver. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
Your
You got anything else?
your prediction and the games.
You go first.
I'm gonna take Nashville in 6. I could see them winning it on home ice.
This is the one. There's always that one first round series that you really don't know. Oh, we'll go Nashville in 6 as well. 6 or 7. I'll go 6 right now, but I really don't know.
And
And
so on
then
to our last playoff series for the first round, with an asterisk next to it, as this could change. Edmonton and Vegas. I think this is going to be the same old thing for Vegas. Ultimately, I think Vegas is going to end up taking it in the end. We talked about their depth there for a second. I think with Mark Stone and some of these other guys coming off the IR, and them not having to worry about the cap, I liked what they did adding Mantha at the deadline. So I think this game goes in 7, but I think that the playoff experience that Vegas has is going to really be the difference. Edmonton hasn't really done anything in the playoffs since McDavid got there, and I think McDavid's got to get it done at some point. I don't think this year's the year. I'd like to see them add a little bit more depth wise for their fourth line and then their bottom defensive pairs. Um, so that's all I've got.
I like Edmonton. I really do. I like McDavid. It's really how bad do the Stars want it for Edmonton? Because I don't think you're going to get a lot from your depth. If you do, best case scenario, because you know all eyes are going to be on McDavid. I don't remember who Edmonton lost to last year. It wasn't Colorado. It might have been Vegas. I think it was Vegas in the second round. But
I might agree with you here.
But to me, is it how bad does McDavid want it? And the guys like Hyman, because Hyman, McDavid, Draisaitl, Evander Kane, and Nugent Hopkins they can put up 5 goals in a game each game alone. But what are you going to see from Sam Gagner? What are you going to see from Matthias Janmark? What are you going to see from Ryan McLeod? Are you going to get Dylan Holloway hot? Are you going to get Connor Brown to get some clutch goals? Those are the questions you have. I'm not super worried about Edmonton's defense. I am worried about the bottom 3, bottom 4, because I don't trust Cody Ceci or Kulak or any of them. And I don't trust your goaltending either. You got Picard and Stewart. You seen what Stuart Skinner did last year in the playoffs. He quite literally sold it for Edmonton. For Vegas, they just have so much depth. But the biggest thing for Vegas is Aiden Hill is not going to be as good as he was last year. And if he proves me wrong, so be it. I'll gladly take another Vegas Cup if he proves me wrong. But don't get it twisted. Aiden Hill's the reason Vegas won the Stanley Cup last year. It's not the depth. It's not being $35 million over the cap. It wasn't any of that. It was Aiden Hill making the big saves in the biggest moments. And if Edmonton will fill up that net, if Aiden Hill is not on his game like he was last year, I will tell you that right now. Vegas will go home in 5 or 6 if Aiden Hill's playing down to Stuart Skinner. So Vegas is the better all-around team, on paper at least. They have the better roster, but the star power for Edmonton vastly outweighs Vegas. And if Edmonton can get some good goaltending and Vegas' goaltending slumps off a little bit from last year, you could very well see Edmonton going with a date going to a date with Vancouver and Nashville.
Okay, real quick, your prediction for the series and how many games?
You go first on this one because this one I don't know either.
I'm going to take Vegas in 7. Again, I think it comes down to Aiden Hill playing well and depth, but I think Vegas has the playoff experience. They've gone deeper, a lot more than Edmonton has. And to answer your question, it was Vegas that knocked out Edmonton in the second round last year. I can't tell if that's a 2 or a 3. I think it was 6 games. Yeah, it was 6 games. So I think Edmonton gets one more on them this year, but I think Vegas ultimately wins 4-3 and takes it in 7. Or Vegas takes it in 7.
I'm gonna go with Edmonton in 7. I think Connor McDavid wants it bad enough. I think Stuart Skinner plays well enough to push them through.
Okay. I think that's all we've got for NHL playoffs. Picks of the week.
You want me to go?
Yeah, you can go ahead and go.
All right, so these are the only 2 games that odds were out on FanDuel, and that's what I used for these odds. Gonna go with Boston money line this for game 1, and then we will go Carolina, New York under 5.5. I think this is going to be a 2-1, 1-0 game. Got Scotty going top 5 this weekend. Think he stays hot. That's at plus 110. So a little plus money bet for you right there. And then Brewers Cards Nerfy on the 19th, which I think is Friday. And then Astros Nationals Nerfy on Saturday, 420.
Just so you know, and taking a Scotty bet right now, I think is risky at this point. Because if his wife has birth like midweek, he may just withdraw from the tournament altogether.
All right, you know what? I'll change it real quick. Hold on. It's gonna be another NHL bet. Go ahead, do yours.
Okay. Because I also had Boston money line versus Toronto. What is the over under set at for that first game?
Both the ones I seen on FanDuel were 5.5.
Give me
for
that.
Boston and Toronto.
Give me that over. I love that over. I think that first one.
I think it's at minus
like,
150.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it'll be like 4-3, 5-4 kind of game. lots of shots from both teams. NBA Saturday, Pelicans money line versus Sacramento. I think they get it done. They've got it done all year against Sacramento. So there's that. Chicago Cubs, Miami Marlins. Give me the Nerfy there. I think that's Friday, 4/19.
Yeah, 4/19 is Friday.
And give me the Texas Rangers money line against the Tigers. I think that's time of data release. That would be later tonight. And then Boston Toronto over 5.5. Give me Carolina money line versus the Islanders. You took the over. I'm gonna take the money line. That's all I've got. Do you have an extra?
Give me Vancouver and Nashville under 5.5. Because I'm assuming that's what it will be. Give me that under. Unders in the first games of playoff series are probably the best bets you can take. Because probably 6 out of the 8 of them will hit.
There might be some truth to that. I'd definitely take the under in the Caps game, but that line's probably gonna be at like 4.5. So
no chance. No chance. I could see that being. Yeah.
In even 5, maybe. It's got to be low.
I don't know. I could see New York filling up the net at home. That's the only thing that worries me with that.
Okay. Well, we will see you guys next week. We'll be able to break down those first couple games that come out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for loving my take on Ohio State football there. We love the views. Love all the comments. Thank you.
Love?
Oh yeah. They ate that shit up.
All I seen were hate comments, my boy.
Hey, hate, love. I couldn't care less. It's at almost 25,000 views.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah.
Last I checked, it was at 15.
Yeah, it's up to almost 25,000 now. I think it's gotten almost 10,000 views in the past day. So that's more than our entire YouTube channel has altogether. But the YouTube's at like 20-something thousand total views. So again, thank you. Make sure that just shows you the power of commenting. Just keep commenting. We love you. Thank you so much for doing what you guys do for us. Yeah, I don't have anything else.
Go comment on the YouTube. That's where we're trying to grow. Go rate us 5 stars on Spotify. Get us out there.
Share with your buddies too. We got a lot of good information.
Yeah, go share. I seen that one reel had, I think it was 400 shares the last I checked. It might be more now, but
I think that was likes.
Go ahead, go to the TikTok. We'll see if that gets banned. Who knows at this point? Twitter, Threads. Go follow us on everything. But the most important places to catch us at are the YouTube and the Spotify. Go share us with your friends, your neighbor, your mom, your dad, your grandpa. Share it with whoever, even your dog. I'm fine with some dogs watching the podcast too. So go.
As of time of recording, the Ohio State and the SEC video has 652 likes, which is insane in its own right, 336 comments, and 332 shares. So again, thank you guys for all of that. Awesome. Love it. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for getting it out there. I think we've gotten 9 new followers from that video. So you're one of them. We thank you. Joe just saw a squirrel. So if you stayed this long, you might as well subscribe. I don't know why you'd spend an hour and 20 minutes with us and not be subscribed. That is stupid. So we will see you guys next week. Peace out. That's all I got.